Take a look at Youngsville, Louisiana. This is a city growing fast, filling up with new subdivisions and master-planned communities. The local school system is scrambling to build new wings for kids in portable classrooms. The city just expanded its massive sports complex, and thousands of people turn out for weekend festivals at the local amphitheater. But adding thousands of new rooftops creates a massive, invisible pull on the physical grid. Every new air conditioner and refrigerator requires power, and that demand must be generated and delivered. A thriving local economy can look perfectly healthy on the surface, but if the pipes, wires, and roads underneath don't expand at the exact same rate as the population, the entire system edges closer to a breaking point. For the local utility company, Slemco, that breaking point is already here. Because of the rapid development, the power lines, or circuits, feeding Youngsville now stretch up to 7 miles long. That distance exposes the lines to lightning, falling trees, and daily wear. Because these lines are stretched so thin, a single car accident taking out one utility pole could trigger widespread, long-lasting blackouts across the city. Slemco's solution is to build a new, dedicated electrical substation. They purchased a 5-acre lot to construct a facility with 40-foot-tall steel structures and heavy-duty transformers, backed by a $25 million budget. Solving this city-wide capacity problem triggered an intensely localized fight. Slemco's chosen 5-acre lot sits directly adjacent to Cypress Gardens, an established high-end residential neighborhood. Distributing high-voltage electricity relies on rigid engineering physics. You cannot simply drop a new substation onto any vacant piece of land. A substation intercepts a 138-kilovolt mainline. Moving it 3 miles requires carving a 120-foot wide path through private property. This turns a $25 million baseline cost into a $75 million bill just to acquire new right-of-ways and force land seizures. These land seizures require complex expropriation lawsuits. Fighting owners in court delays the upgrade by 5 to 6 years, guaranteeing severe capacity bottlenecks for the city. Utility companies are boxed in. They operate within electrical physics, rigid property laws, and massive supply chain delays. Compromising on location often means the math simply stops working. But for the residents of Cypress Gardens, the utility's logistical math means waking up to find a heavy industrial complex moving in next door. Cities write land use regulations to prevent exactly this scenario. These are strict zoning codes that mandate wide greenbelts and heavy tree buffers to protect residential neighborhoods from industrial encroachment. For these homeowners, the primary fear is economic. Real estate studies presented by residents show that a highly visible electrical substation next to homes can drive down property values by nearly 45%. Beyond the financial hit, the residents argue the facility destroys their quality of life. A substation brings the constant hum of heavy transformers, exposure to electromagnetic fields, potential fire hazards, and a skyline dominated by towering metal structures. Because Slemco's 5-acre lot is so small, they cannot fit the facility and the legally required 100-foot tree buffer. To build it, they have to ask the city council to grant a variance, a special permission to break the zoning rules. For the residents, these zoning rules are a binding social contract. They argue that bending the local laws to accommodate a utility company's spatial constraints shifts the burden of infrastructure directly onto their front lawns. This conflict forced a showdown at the local city council meeting. Elected officials had to choose between securing the grid or protecting property values. Slemco offered a blunt reality check. Without the variance to build the substation, the city's electrical capacity hits a hard limit, and future expansion effectively stops. The council listened to hours of fierce pushback from the neighborhood. In the end, they voted unanimously to side with the residents and deny the land use variances. Slemco's response was immediate. They announced they would take their back-ordered multi-million-dollar equipment and build a substation in a completely different city, abandoning the Youngsville project entirely. The neighborhood successfully protected its borders, but by winning the local battle, the city guaranteed its own long-term electrical bottleneck. This specific standoff in Louisiana mirrors a crisis building across the country. Every expanding American suburb requires more power. We demand reliable electricity, high-speed internet, and clean water. Yet, we fiercely refuse to surrender the physical space required to generate and distribute those resources near our homes. As the national grid ages and suburban sprawl pushes further outward, this exact zero-sum standoff is destined to play out in city halls from coast to coast.